Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk about my favorite books on mental illness because career-wise, what I want to talk about, like, for the rest of my career, is the intersection between representation, media, and how the real world works. Because I firmly believe, like, if marginalized groups are represented in a proper and complex way, that they will then be seen in a complex way outside of their thing that makes them diverse in the real world. So, I feel this way about, you hear this mostly with, like, being gay, being a person of color, all that stuff, and I firmly believe that as well. But also, the depiction of chronic illnesses, whether that be mental or physical, is also very important because you can't know what someone like that experiences until you live it, and you can't live it if it's not your life, but you can kind of live it if you get to read about it. So I'm going to talk about my favorite books on mental illness, ones that I have found particularly ringing true in my own health experiences. Please leave your recommendations down below, because I'm always looking for non-depressing books about depression and, like, mental health representation in books, because that's not something we get a lot, and when we do get it, most of the time it's really shitty. So here we go, without further ado. I've talked about this book before, but it's kind of a funny story by Ned Vizzini. It is about this boy named Craig Gilner. He's in high school. He becomes depressed and he becomes suicidal, and he takes himself into a hospital. And he spends like 5 or 6 days there, and he gets to know all these people with mental illnesses of varying, like, types and severity. And it's a really beautiful book. It was one of the first books I read about mental illness, like a good book. And I don't know, it really shows them as people in a way that I feel like a lot of other books don't. Like, for instance, Winter Girls is awful. Like, the author herself, I know she's written a bunch of other stuff, and I've liked most of her other stuff, but Winter Girls is triggering as all hell, and it just hardcore romanticizes anorexia in a way that is just honestly irresponsible of the author. You know what? I'm going to look her name up right now. Hold on. Lori Halse Anderson. Yeah, she's written a lot of other good stuff, but not that. Honestly, it's really irresponsible the way she writes it. She makes it, like, she makes herself seem strong by being anorexic. And something else based off of this is, hold on, I have that name written down. I read another book about, like, a boy storyline with anorexia, and I was super excited about it because you never see that perspective, ever. And then they totally ruined it and made it disturbing as all hell. Hold on. The Art of Starving by Sam J. Miller. I cannot believe someone allowed this to go to print. It's literally, like, the whole book is about how, as this boy starves, he becomes, like, superpowered, like a superpowered human, and literally, I just cannot believe someone allowed this to be published. It's so upsetting, so triggering, and there's, like, a difference between, like, censorship and just, like, allowing things to run wild without, like, irresponsibly, because and they never resolve it. And he, like, doesn't want to get better. The kid is literally dying, doesn't want to get better. They never, like, he kind of tries to get better, but it's just, the whole thing is disturbing. Like, being in that mind frame is very unhealthy, and anyone who has any history or issues with mental illness or mental health problems, do not read it. It's so bad. Under Rose-Tainted Skies is amazing. I think it's written by Louise Scornall, and it's about a girl with agoraphobia, and it talks you through panic attacks in this very hyper-realistic way, that I really appreciated. Like, her anxiety, her mental illness was not, like, it was definitely, like, it wasn't her whole character, but it properly shows how mental illness can consume you as a person, like how it can become so much of you when it does that. I was gonna say when you let it, but I know that's not true, so don't be problematic, Catherine. It's just so well done, and it's not written as like in the book she gets into a relationship, but being in that relationship doesn't fix her, and that is so important, because that's something we see a lot as a trope in literature and media, is the mentally ill are fixed when they get a partner, when they're in a relationship. And like, honestly, I'm guilty of thinking that way. I'm like, oh, if I just like have someone who loves me, then my depression will go away. But like, not true, Catherine. Don't think that, because that's not gonna happen. People are not medicine. They just aren't, and you can't think like that. And this book doesn't represent it like that, and I really appreciated that about it. Wasted by Mariah Hornbacher, I literally read in probably an hour and a half. Like, I could not put it down. I sat down with it, and I just couldn't stop until I was finished with it. It is a heart-wrenching memoir of this girl's experience with anorexia, and it doesn't depict it in a romantic way at all, because she's experienced it and she knows, like, she's not, like, represented as, like, a suffering soul. She's dying. This woman is dying, and she talks about it, and it's so, like, it's so moving and beautiful, and it's the furthest thing from romanticization, and that is something that we don't see a lot, because for some reason eating disorders, depression, and anxiety are really idealized, which honestly makes no sense to me. Like, if you idealize, like, diabetes or arthritis or some shit, people will be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But for some reason when you do it with that, it's like a quirk, a character thing. It's not. So lastly, it turns out I'm never gonna film another video without mentioning this book. A Little Life by Hanya Nagahara is the, like, capital letters trigger warning for self-harm, rape, like, sexual abuse, all that stuff. But it talks about Jude as with depression, with self-harm, and it's just, oh god. Honestly, I can't talk about a lot of what happens because of spoilers. Like, it's like a fucking whirlwind. You gotta experience it yourself. I don't want to ruin it. But if you are sensitive about those things, I wouldn't, because I have, so you guys know that A Little Life is my favorite book of all time, but some people refer to it as trauma porn, which I can kind of see that perspective. So if you're looking for a happy-go-lucky overcoming your illness story, A Little Life is not it. It will never be it. But if you're looking for a very gripping, realistic, heart-wrenching story about, like, love, friendship, self-identity is not a word, but it is now, and just dealing with your past, then you should read it for sure. Okay, I think that's everything. You're gonna recognize this outfit because I just filmed a video, but I don't know, my head's in a weird space right now, but I'm putting these up anyway because this is the only day of the week I have time to film. So I hope you guys are all doing really, really well. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.